welcome to the Redefine Podcast. All right, happy Thursday and happy podcast day to you. Welcome to the show if you're brand new, and of course, if you're an existing listener, welcome back, welcome back. Quick reminder, if you're watching the YouTube version of this, make sure you like this video when you're done watching it, and of course, hit that subscribe button and the bell so that, so that you don't miss a future episode. And if you are listening to the podcast version of this, make sure you hit that plus sign at the top of whatever app you happen to be listening on and follow the show. We do have a new episode every Tuesday and Thursday, today being, of course, the Thursday episode, so welcome. We're going to continue our conversation from Tuesday, where we ended the episode talking about crossroads and making sure you are open to seeing and hearing the signs from the universe or from God, because that will inform you which crossroads to take, which fork to take in the crossroads. If you've set your goals and if you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve, the universe will give you signs, and you have to really be open to those. Now, when you get to the crossroad, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, the path that it's leading you towards, the option that it's sending you signs for, will often be a path or a road that you've never taken before, and that will be that can be very, very frightening. It can be scary because the unknown is frightening. And so today, what we're going to talk about is facing that, and what happens in the brain, what happens in our minds, if we don't, right? If we don't. The topic for today is actually going to be called "Don't Be Afraid of the Chainsaw." Dun dun dun. It's not really dun dun dun, but it'll tie in. Let me explain. I have a dear friend of mine, lifelong friend who I grew up with, who for the last 5, 10, maybe even 15 years now at this point, has been moving more into a self-sustaining lifestyle. He's been started off with a hobby garden, has grown out that garden to be more and more productive, and they're selling a lot of their produce now. They've incorporated some livestock, chickens, of course, and so they've gradually grown out their farm, right? They're not quite to the homestead level yet, but they're getting there, right? They're getting there. One of the things that he and I always laugh about when I go and visit him is that he doesn't have a chainsaw. He's never used one, and in fact, he doesn't have one because he's scared of it, and rightfully so. Chainsaws are very intimidating. They can be very dangerous if you're not careful, and so because of this, he's never pulled the trigger on not even just using one, not even just buying one, but he's never actually tried one. I brought my chainsaw over to his house before and helped him with some stuff, and he's never tried it. So this speaks to the same principle that we were talking about at the end of the last episode on Tuesday, is that, when you're faced with things that you've never done before, and we're faced with paths that you've never walked before, the unknowns make it very, very frightening. It makes it very, very scary. Again, in the case of this chainsaw, chainsaws are pretty dangerous, or can be pretty dangerous if you're not careful. And so it goes the same with anything when we're faced with things that we've never done before, especially when you set big, new, hairy, audacious goals. Most, if not all of that path to get there, you've never walked before, right? You've never walked before. And so what I see in my years of coaching and mentoring people is that oftentimes the people will, it's natural, not just people, everybody, we all do this. What we'll do is we'll justify our fears and we'll make excuses for avoiding the things that we've been, that make us uncomfortable, because it's a natural wiring, right? It's a natural instinct in our brains. Our brains want to keep us safe. It wants to keep us comfortable. So anytime there are unknowns, anytime there are things that frighten us or that feel uncomfortable, the brain is going to want to try to convince you to not do it, right? The brain is going to try to convince you with those justifications and with those excuses to not go down that path that you've never walked. All well and good. It's a normal part of the personal development conversation. And beyond, here's what happens though. Beyond the obvious advice of, lean into your fears and do it scared, and, lean into your discomfort, those things, which are all valid and all things that you should do. There's a less obvious thing that's happening. When you justify and you make excuses for your fears and your discomfort, or for not facing your discomfort, the brain will automatically and unconsciously find something, an easier option, right? The lesser of two evils, if you will, or the path of less resistance. Because again, the discomfort, the risk, the unknown potentially could be life threatening in that ancient part of our brain. So it wants to keep you within the realm of predictable certainty, and as a result, if we continue to justify and make excuses, we are conditioning our brains to always pick the path of least resistance, which a lot of times ends up being, the next shiny object, right? That's why you see people jumping from one new thing to another new thing to another new thing, but never following through. Because as soon as they hit any discomfort or any challenge on that new thing that they tried, the brain will tell them, nope, don't do that. Go find something else to do, right? Something that you can start that might not be as risky, that might not be as dangerous. And so this is a programming that happens if we don't catch it, right? If we continue to justify and make excuses for our fears and for why we're not facing discomfort. The other thing that can happen, and that I've seen in my years of coaching and mentoring, is that over time, people start to aim lower and lower in terms of their goals. And it gets to a point where people don't even aim for very much anymore, right? Like, and we've talked about goals and dreams, setting goals and dreams before in the past. You got to set dreams and goals that challenge you, right? Those big, hairy, audacious goals, because if you don't, you're never going to break out of your day to day, because your brain is going to choose paths that will continue to give you predictable results, i.e., the same results you've been getting every day. And so yeah, you got to really watch out for that. You got to look at what you've done in the past and what you're doing, in the present moment, and catch yourself when you have set your goals too low, because that can be a formula for disaster, not disaster, but at the very least, it's a formula for living in a Groundhog's Day situation. The movie with Bill Murray, where it's just the same day over and over again, and you get to the end of your life and you've never even come close to achieving the reality of is achieving your dream life. And we all have that capability, but we're all too scared to pursue it, right? So you gotta really face those things, and you really gotta have, excuse me, you really have to catch yourself when you're making excuses and when you're justifying your fears and your discomfort. Because again, if you continue to do this, it's going to condition your brain to think and aim lower and lower, right? Right? Well, the saying, "Go big or go home." You're going to go smaller and smaller, and you're going to stay home, right? Right? All right. This is an important thing to keep track of in yourself. Catch yourself when you're making excuses, and as we talked about in the last episode, really lean into that discomfort, lean into that fear, face those things, because on the other side of that fear, not only will you be one step closer to your final destination, your goal and your dream that you're trying to achieve, but you're also going to be one step closer to your true potential, and that is really its limitless capability. Right? That's the only way you start to wake yourself up to the limitless capability. Whereas if you don't, if you're justifying and if you're making excuses, you fall further and deeper and deeper into a slumber in the matrix, really. And again, you live the same day over and over again, and will never have tapped into your true potential. Right? So don't be afraid of the chainsaw. Don't be afraid of the chainsaw. I know it can be scary. When I first got my chainsaw, I was really nervous. But I trusted myself. I trusted the universe and the signs that it was telling me to face. And I took the proper precautions, and now I use a chainsaw like it was any other tool in the garage, right? So don't be afraid of the chainsaw. That's going to be the message for today. Thanks for tuning in. Happy rest of your week. Have a great week weekend. For those of you in the US, today is July 4th, so be safe on your holiday celebration. Be safe this weekend if you have big plans, but otherwise I will see you Tuesday with a fresh new one. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.